Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today's topic that I'll be covering is taking your forms creation and delivery to the next level. If your organization is currently using an electronic forms package that is no longer supported or simply isn't meeting the needs of your organizations, then it's time to replace it and set your forms creation and delivery on the right path. The iForms document creation solution by Fortra is a modern alternative to an outdated forms package such as IBM's AFP that is no longer supported or enhanced. iForms' robust functionality is the perfect solution for all companies' forms, report generation, and also delivery needs. Here's a quick look at the agenda before I get started. I'm going to be talking about the Fortress solutions from the document and forms automation brands and what we can cover and how we can help you. And then I'm going to move right into the main topic of how we can take control or how we can take your forms creation process and take control of of the forms that you're creating and deliver it to the next level, right? And then I'm planning on doing a live demonstration around the iForms document creation solution. And then last of all, we'll finish up with some Q&A at the end if time permits. Feel free to enter all your questions into the chat window, and I will address them towards the end of the webinar if time allows. I will also plan to complete this session in 30 minutes or less. But if I happen to run over and you need to run to another meeting, you will receive an email with a link to the recording that you can rewatch any part that you might have missed, or also share with anyone in your organization that could not attend today's webinar. My name is Greg Schmidt. I'm the Senior Solution Engineer here at Fortra for the document and forms management automation brands, and also the SQL Business Intelligence. I have over 23 years worth of experience and over a decade's worth of experience in the IBM report and data distribution and robotic process automation technology. Over the years, I've been key in helping companies automate their data and document processes and also streamline their business processes with technology and strategic planning for digital transformation of documents, data, and workflows. One of the things I'm very passionate about is helping guide companies in best practices for implementation and solution expansion within their organizations to bring to bring more efficiency to the solutions for their organizations. Here at Fortra, we've been helping companies for decades on their digital transformation and automation journey. Our mission is helping companies bring efficiencies to their business processes by streamlining the ways companies create, capture, securely manage, and do distribution on their business documents, processes, and business data. The document and forms automation lifecycle is how documents flow through the organization's process. Understanding these document stages is critical to optimizing the capture, management, distribution, and security of business information. Fortra has a variety of solutions to help you assist at each phase of the life cycle, helping you save money and increase efficiencies. Again, we have a variety of solutions and in 4 key business areas, like the secure document and workflow management for IBMI reports and business documents. So you can enforce business workflows and business processes, but also save spool files in PDF format, Excel format, and stuff into the system. Intelligent forms and workflow management. Think of this as what we call beyond the paper. So being able to create citizen-based forms, so you don't have to be a developer to create the forms, but create forms to be able to enhance the data collection process, enforce workflows with them as well. Accounts receivable automation, and we'll be talking a little bit some of that today, right? From the automation standpoint of creating output documents, but we can help with accounts receivable automation at all different kinds of steps, all the way to the secure access of those documents. And then we can also cover and help with the accounts payable automation. So we do have different ways that we can help you in your AP automation journey, from integrating to native IBMI product sets to more Windows-based or cloud-based solutions we can help you with. So we do have a variety of those as well. Now let's move right into that main topic of taking your forms creation and delivery to the next level. ERP and line of business systems are the backbones to your organization that control your business data and processes. And in some cases, your business systems may have forms solutions built into them, but they might not be meeting the needs or have the right interfaces to be able to work with. So in some of those cases, you might need to have a better solution to be able to sometimes collect the data on the front end, and then also export that data out in a nice presentable format. So being able to be more nimble is very important to organizations' growth, because they need to be able to keep up with compliance and regulatory needs that they might be able to do, but just really get information out, right? So if you're talking about invoice processing and stuff like that for AR side of things, you need to be able to process that stuff and have a really nice way to be able to do that and streamline that process, to be able to make money for the organization. Now, there's other things that we'll talk about today that you can take advantage of a form solution. It could be report generation. It could be check printing. It could be label printing, barcodes on those labels and stuff like that. So to make it easier for people to be able to scan documents, or hit them with the handheld scanners in the warehouses and stuff like that. But there's a lot of different ways to be able to do that. What I was sort of getting at before is there's really two types of forms that can be part of a business process, right? There is your input forms, which could start to collect the data and have a workflow process around them for the data collection standpoint, which we refer to them as the Webdocs forms management system, to be able to do that, right? So you can have an input form from that standpoint, to be able to help you. But what we're going to focus on today is the output form standpoint, right? So being able to take the data that is collected inside of your ERP system, and create those output documents. And sometimes those output documents are referred to as customer presentable business forms or documents, right? Invoices, bill of ladings, statements, checks, things like that. That can be built from the back end. Now that data can come in many different ways, as you'll hear today. So you don't have to really condition the data in certain ways for us to be able to collect it. We can take it from spool files. We can take it from databases. We can take it from if your system creates XML files or text files, we can take that information that way and use those as sources, to be able to bring that information into the system. At the end of this process, on the output forms, you need to be able to do something with them, right? You need to be able to, email the documents out to people if you need to. So if they're invoices, you might need to print them. If they're bill of ladings, you might need to print them and get them signed and stuff like that. But then you can archive them. So if you currently have an archive solution, we can feed your current archive solution with those documents, or we do have our own Webdocs archive solution as well, to be able to feed those directly into the system. And again, for today's conversation, we'll be talking about the output-based forms again, right? So we'll be talking about not so much the input, but how the documents are created on the outside. And here is just a few use case examples of what we can do, right? So, like a lot of times we're creating like purchase orders, we're creating invoices, we're creating bill of ladings, packing slips, statements, advanced ship notices. We can do stuff like that. Insurance documents, letter generation for customers. So more like a mail merge kind of process, right? Reports that might need to be more presentable to users, right? That's also a part of it. Instruction manuals. That is one of the things on our manufacturing side that we do a lot as well, is instruction manuals, because we'll talk about this a little bit later, is the capability to do assembly processes inside of there and assemble documents that get created with iForms, but also other documents that might live on your network. Check printing, and then, like I said, shipping labels is another big one. So being able to print those shipping labels out and put that information and stuff on the goods that are going out. But there is truly no limit to the forms or documents that can be created with the iForms document creation solution. So you do have, and that means there truly is no limit from the size of them. So if there's smaller labels to the larger labels to different kinds of document sizes to more legal size documents, we can control all those different kinds of formatted sizes and different kinds of forms. And some of these I will be showing, some of these examples that are on the screen here, I will be showing in the live demonstration too, so you can sort of see those, from a design standpoint, so you can get a little bit more familiar with them as well. All right, what I want to talk about now is more of the iForms solution itself. But before I jump into that, I just want to make one quick reminder to people out there, because this is something that's been coming up a lot in the past few years, but even more and more in the past few months here. But as people are moving from iOS, 7.3 and beyond, right? You should plan on replacing, if you're using AFP, you should plan on replacing that as soon as possible, because it is out of support. It still will work in most cases, but there is cases that we've been running into that it's not working because of some of the programs that are running that are not supported anymore, and IBM won't help fix that from a support standpoint, because they're out of support on the AP process. So today we'll talk about, if you plan on doing something like that, how does that look, from a process standpoint? If I'm looking at, doing a replacement to a current form solution, even, right? It doesn't have to be just AFP, could be your current form solution. But then also, how do I do that if I'm doing AFP processes and stuff like that? How do I remove that from my current process and move to more of an iForms solution without doing a rip and replace of the current process? So there's ways to be able to streamline that a little bit with some of our methodology and technology to be able to streamline some of that. All right, so from the spool file management suite that we work with here at Fortra in the document forms automation brand here, there's a lot of things that we can help you with in there. Today we're going to be talking about the iForms document creation part of this. So being able to create the documents, assemble documents, and all that good stuff, and do some kind of delivery on them. We have that capability, right? But do know that we do have other things. I probably will be talking a little bit about the pre-processing engine, because pre-processing is really a nice set that we can do there to beat the pre-process information, or split or burst and extract information out of them. Do lookups and things like that. But then we have spool file delivery capabilities that are built into iForms, and then outside of iForms, we have that capability too, using our Deliver Now suite. And then also the secure archive, and that's the Webdocs secure archive. So if you are a Webdocs customer, you can use iForms to feed Webdocs, or if you need a secure archive in the background where people need to be able to log in through a web interface, you can purchase the Webdocs solution that iForms directly feeds. Now, from the solution standpoint, what the solution looks like, right? So if you think about what iForms is, right? It's a document creation solution. It has the capability to do pre-processing with a pre-processing engine. So we have a bundle that sort of bundles this all together for you, right? So it has a pre-processing engine, and it has two components, two main components just to the core iForms solution. That's the document creation part of it, so you can create forms, and then the document assembly function that gives you the capability to assemble documents into the solution. Now, how this process works from the creation assembly process, it starts with a spool file usually at that point, or database that we're looking at. Take that information, process it in, create the form, and then do some kind of distribution on it, right? So pre-process, split, monitor, convert, create, and then secure, archive, print, or deliver that information then at that point, right? Now, again, like I said, there's those two components to the iForms core application, right? So we have the capability to be able to create these nice output information, right? With the different kinds of data sets, but then assemble information around that as well. And assembly is really nice because think of it as here's a live scenario, right? So we have customers that create invoices, but when they create invoices, there might be a product number on there, and they need to be able to attach a picture to that product number, right? So they want to add that to the invoice when it goes out. So we can actually attach that information and assemble information, right? We can assemble terms and conditions in there as well. So if you need to be able to assemble terms and conditions, you can do things like that as well inside the application. So you do have that capability there as well. But there's all different kinds of things that you can do, with the iForms solution, right? Visual designer, so it's a WYSIWYG designer, so visual designer. We can create those different forms from spool files, and the big thing, spool files, text files, databases, and stuff like that. I mean, we're database agnostic if you're going to databases, so it could be a DB2 database, it could be an SQL database, it could be XML as a data source too. So I mean, there's different kinds of data sources. But the really cool part about the output part of it, we're not creating PostScript or PCL. We're creating a PDF document in the background that is printable at that point through printing, any printer that can print PDFs, like a laser printer and stuff like that. Or you can actually queue it back to an output queue and push it back to a print process on the IBMI side of things. We have monitors, so we can monitor output queues and directories. We also have native command capabilities that you can work with. So native, like REST APIs, if you want to use the REST APIs. We have programs that you can embed into your, or our calls you can embed into your CLs and RPG programs. So you have all those different kinds of things to be able to interact with from that standpoint. Then again, that document assembly function is that you can take a form that is merged or created, and then assemble it with other static documents to create PDFs. Like I said, terms and conditions, drawings, work instructions, policy procedure documents and stuff like that, and bring them all together into one PDF to create that very streamlined packet. Now, before I get into the live demonstration here, a couple last slides here. Where it can run. I think this is very important to the conversation. The solution is a multi-platform solution, right? Meaning that it can run native to the IBMI, it can run native Windows, and it can run in a mixed mode environment. I would say a majority of our customers start on the native IBMI side, and then they might go into more of a mixed mode function if they need to take advantage of like printer functions and stuff like that. So they do have that different capability there. Or even they might want to offload processing in some cases, right? They want to streamline some of the process there and not burden the IBMI with some of those document creation processes. So they might want to offload that to another server at that point, so it can do that. So we do have those capabilities there. Now, no matter where this solution runs at, you can still use our REST APIs. If you're running it in either native mode or mixed mode, you can use the native library to be able to use those commands to build into your application screens, or build directly into your programs to be able to process the documents and stuff like that. As you're creating spool files, you can make the calls directly to us. Okay, I'm going to move into the live demonstration now. I'm going to try to only spend about 5 minutes or so inside of here, but it's going to be hard to do. There's a lot of fun stuff to show inside of here, but again, this is sort of an intro to the iForms solution. And if you want a live demonstration, you can always feel free to reach out to us as well. We can always do those as well for you. But to start out here from the standpoint, I just want to go through some of the key features to Designer. First of all, one of the big pluses to Designer, there's no limit to the amount of designers you can have. From a licensing standpoint, you can load these on any machine that you want to, server or whatever. and use these on those different devices as connected to the server or disconnected. So you can design offline and then come back online and then upload them to the server. Now, the first of all, I wanted to sort of cover really quickly here, data. So being able to import data into it, right? Spool files are one of them, where we can actually import spool files using our iForms text designer here, in this case. So the iForms text designer is going to give you the capability to be able to load a spool file and then map and put fields over the top of the spool file and name them and do different things with it, from our interface standpoint, and give them logical names, right? Because this is you'll see why that's important here in just a second, but give them logical names from the data extraction standpoint. So this part, doesn't take that long to be able to do to map that data. But then the reason why you want to give them logical names is because when you open up a form or create a new form inside of iForms, you can then import those into the fields here. So those are going to be logical names inside of here to be able to import into. Databases are similar. So we can create, different kinds of data connections to any kind of different databases. So we have a wizard that you can walk through to create those different data sources. If it's IBM or if it's Windows or whatever the system is, as long as you have the driver for that, or as long as we have a driver for it, you can get to that information. And then you can query those databases using a select statement or any kind of SQL query that you need to be able to do to be able to pull that data from those different data fields from your databases and tables. So we do have those different methods there. But the big thing here is, on the left hand side, left hand side, all those fields are going to show up here so that you can access those and drag and drop those into the form, position them where you need to, and you can even condition things too. So if you bring something into a form, like a field, you want to condition it. We do have expressions inside of here, so you can highlight the information. A lot of people use expressions for negative and positive number information, to be able to turn things red or black or stuff like that, or flip-flop logos even at that point. So you can actually put conditions in place to say, hey, I want this logo to be here, or if I have another brand or another division or another location that I want to change to, you can create a single form, but then flip-flop some of the logos back and forth inside of there. So you do have that capability in the application itself to be able to do some of those functions. Now we have a test function, so you can test forms inside of here, using the different test buttons inside of here, so to quickly access a form to see what it looks like with just the fields and no data in there. You can do that, or I can say, hey, I want to see what it looks like in a finished format, so I can see if everything lines up, or if I need to adjust anything, or the text information and stuff like that. You'll see inside of here, I can do barcodes, I can do QR codes inside of here. You can do all different kinds of conditional information. We can do static forms. So a static form would be like a bill of lading would be a static form example, right? Where it's static information on top, static information on bottom. We're creating subsequent pages for the other pieces of data to be able to fill in. Now, something that's more dynamic is like an invoice, right? Because it could be 1 pages, it could be 100 pages, and we don't have to be the same on every page, right? It could be a continued. If it's 10 pages, it could be continued on 9 pages, and then on the last page we have a grand total on the bottom. That's where you can use a conditional logic or those expressions inside of there to be able to say, hey, add all the subtotals up and give me a grand total on the bottom. So you can do different things like that with the application from that standpoint. There's many different functions you can do. So we have some different things inside of here I want to show to sort of streamline some of the process from one form to another, right? So say that you have a form and you want to put that as a background image. So this is a form that is a background image. So you'll see that this is actually an image in the background. And how you get that image in there is using our trace option. So we have a plugin inside of here, and there's an iForms and there's a trace option. Now this trace option can be used in a couple different ways. So this trace option could be used, hey, I want to trace this form, draw over the top using our designer and draw the lines and stuff over the top of it and create it that way and then remove it after it's done. That is one option. The other option is if it is a compliant document, right, that you cannot change. This is a great way to be able to import that document in there and then put data over the top of it. So now I can add fields over the top of the form to be able to populate my data set inside of there without changing the physical structure of that form. You can use this process to get started. So like I was talking about, don't have to rip and replace things, right? You could say, hey, I got an image. I don't need to change the form so much right now, but I could put it as a background image and lay data over it and start using iForms that way. So there are different ways that you can do that, through the process to be able to, interact back and forth, with creating forms and then using forms as more of the static images and stuff too, and then creating some that you have more control over as time goes on. So there's a lot of different things inside the Forms Designer that you can do, right? That I won't be covering here today, but again, you can create all different kinds of forms. Like I said, you can create, bill of ladings, invoices, checks. We could create bar labels and stuff like that too, and then print them to like zebra printers and stuff like that. So you can do all different kinds of things, and you can make these as pretty as you want, and have as much control. You have all full control over the, where data looks at, the sizes, and all that good stuff inside of here as well. So you have that full control and capacity of the system. Now, one last thing that I want to show here before I go into some questions here is the native commands. We do have native command capability, native monitors. We can monitor, you can monitor output queues, and set up those lists inside of here, what we're going to monitor. But we also have command-driven functions too. So if you want to build them into your screen for interactive functions, or if you want to build in our commands to do assembly or document creation processes into your CL or RPG programs. So we do have that capability to give you that functionality to be able to create those and stuff like that. So here's an example. So star report would be database driven from that standpoint. So you want to do database driven ones, and then asterisk spool is spool file driven ones. So you can actually pass parameters to these through your RPG or CL programs inside of there to be able to, create, select which one you want to create as you're creating those spool files and what form to create or select inside of there, and then what you want to do with it. Do you want to print it? Do you want to create a document? What do you need to do with that? Document at that point after it's been created. So you can do some kind of distribution on that file as well. So you have those different functions there. Now, again, like I said, there's a lot of different things I did not cover here today. That was a very quick overview of the form solution and what it can do. But I just wanted to spend a few minutes on, there's some good questions in here, sort of recap questions that people have been asking here. So I just sort of want to recap on some of those different questions. And one of those questions was what I just showed, right? One of the things I just showed was the trace option. I didn't go into full detail in it, but again, you can have that. So you can use that trace option to eliminate some of the creation process if you want to, right? In the beginning of the process, right? So you can use that as a background image to draw over top of, or you can use that as a background image to start the process and just map the data over. And then one another question is, and I think I said something about this in the beginning during the demonstration here as well, is they can be spool file driven. I showed database driven. Databases don't make a difference what they are. So it could be a DB2 database, it could be an SQL database, could be a combination of where this information is coming from, different data sources. So you can mix and match the data sources if need be as well during that process. And to answer a question, I did answer this already. Zebra printers are acceptable printers. Sometimes you might need to run in a mixed mode environment to be able to take advantage of those. But there's no extra cost to that if you have to run in a mixed mode environment structure. And there is other ways from a command standpoint too. So the last question, there was a couple questions around this. I'll mix them together here. Is the API standpoint, right? So I did talk about the native commands, RPG, CL commands that we can do, that you can use, but we do have full REST API capability as well. So if that's running in a more of a mixed mode environment, you can take advantage of those RESTful API commands during that process. All right, I know we're running up on time here. I just want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. And just a reminder, if you are or have moved to OS level 7.3 or beyond, make sure that you have a replacement plan if you're using AFP to create your business forms. And also remember, you don't have to do that rip and replace, so you don't have to change overnight. We can actually have a strategy in place, and it's a journey kind of a process, right? That we can help you with and create that strategy around that process. I want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. I hope everyone has learned some helpful and informative information about how to take your forms creation and delivery to the next level using our iForms document creation and assembly solution. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to myself or the document and forms management team here at Fortra, and we'll be happy to schedule a free consultation and also a one-on-one demonstration to address any questions that you might have, and also further look at the solution in more in depth. You will receive an email after the webinar, probably either later today or tomorrow, with a link to the recording that you can rewatch something if you had to step away, or if you have someone that you want to send this over to, you can send them that link as well, so they can watch that. Thanks again for attending today's webinar. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week.